Committee, and the first item on our agenda is approval of minutes from October 11.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or changes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First item on our agenda is something that was held from our last meeting, and that is approval of the Families in Transition renewal application for a family, and the request is for, I believe it's for $6,251. But underneath that amount is anticipated fit subsidy needed is $5,436. So I guess the first question, well, first of all, could we have a motion to
Move approval.
recommend approval? Okay. My first question would be the two different numbers. Would it be nice to have $6,251, but what is required is $5,436? Is that the case?
Madam Chair, we do have representatives here tonight, and they will be introduced by Sarah if she needs to. Sarah Flax.
Well, I'm looking here at the spreadsheet you have, and it says annual subsidy for FIT is $5,436.
Sarah Flax, Housing and Grants Administrator. The reason we have a range is the housing subsidy is based on the household income, and the household, our best guess is what their household income is now, so what the subsidy will be. If there's any job loss, instability, anything like that, it could go slightly higher, and that's why we've asked to authorize the up to amount.
Well, I thought it was interesting when you look at this. I don't know if I've ever seen it so clearly laid out, but the sponsor's contribution is $192, and this is the group that we just heard got over $50,000 every month for various housing programs. I know no matter what situation I refer to, it's not covered under any of that $50,000. So let's not go into that. But I don't see, I mean, they're guaranteeing us that this woman's going to get this part-time job at Macy's, and, you know, her boyfriend is working, and, you know, I don't know. I would like to recommend the $5,436. There's so many hundreds of people in this town who need this help, and my opinion of this program is unless you're among the chosen few who are connected to somebody who wants to be a sponsor, you're out in the cold. And I think we've seen that over the years. Unless you know the sponsors, you're not going to get this help. So, does anybody, yes, Alderman Holmes.
Is this the, just need to remind me, is this the one where you asked the question, because we couldn't remember the information that was given in terms of?
This is the one that they didn't make any of their goals last year. She wanted to be, she wanted to go to the police academy.
Yeah, but
But-
we couldn't remember it ever coming before.
Yeah, no, I could never remember it,
I
but
just wanted to make sure.
I think maybe she had a different goal when they came before. But now she wants to work for Macy's and get her LPN. So anyway, I would like to recommend I don't see how we can pull the rug out from under this family at this point in time, but I think we should be conservative in our grants, and I'm sure that Connections for the Homeless could subsidize if she doesn't get a job again this year. Yes, Alderman.
Alderman Rainey, you stated that you think the process of approval is slanted or
No, it's not slanted at all.
controlled.
Not by us at all.
No, I'm not saying that.
No. By people
the
who
recommendation
yeah.
coming to us is through folks have to have connection and a sponsor.
You have to have a sponsor. You have to. And so people who, number one, I would imagine that 90% of the population don't know about this program.
Don't know about this program.
So they're not going to get help.
One point of clarification, anyone who comes to the city for the FIT program sponsored by Connections has already gone through 2 years of work with Connections on their program moving toward, financial independence and sustainability. Many of the families, well, all the families through this program have a number of challenges, and so it's a 2-year working with Connections in their program before they're brought to the FIT program.
But you don't have to go through Connections. You can go through
No.
some other willing sponsor,
Absolutely.
like Reba
Absolutely.
or somebody else.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
Any of them can bring cases.
But the problem is a lot of groups aren't bringing cases because they've found it to be a burden in the past, or they, missed the boat on the people they were bringing forward. There's a variety of reasons.
It's very intensive case management.
Alderman Nguyen.
Well, Alderman Rainey, I see your point about obviously only a very, very tiny fraction of people who might need this help get it in Evanston, but we do have the program, and should we decide that this applicant through homeless through the Connections for the Homeless should not get the amount that they deem necessary and our staff agrees with, because not everyone else in the community can have access to this? I mean, I would like it if we could figure out a way to spread our resources further, but right now this is a program that we have, and these are people this is a family that's been in the program, and I don't doubt the information that's been presented to us, and I think that clearly this is a family that's living on a very, very tight budget, and I don't know what the message is that we're sending by not approving the amount that the staff recommends. I mean, if they don't use it, then what happens?
Then it doesn't get spent. It stays in the Affordable Housing Fund.
Okay.
Right. Here's what I want to know. How many on this committee know what the rules and guidelines are, not for the FIT program, but for spending the affordable housing money? I have no idea. And I think it would be helpful for us to know that, because we have $418,000 in a balance called Affordable Housing Fund, and I have no idea how we can use that. I do know that it's not subject to all the rigorous rules that HUD money is subject to. So I think it would be interesting for us to know that. But I also think that it is not being stingy or in any way malevolent at all to award $5,436 for a rent subsidy for this family who has, for the last year, been subsidized by the city of Evanston, and for the 2 years before that, probably subsidized by HUD within the Connections family program. So the time has come for them to move on after this year. So I think $5,436 is not being stingy or shortchanging the FIT case in any way. In fact, I think what it does is it encourages the family to this time really get a job, stay healthy, get a job, and start working towards self-sufficiency. That's what I'm thinking. Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
I don't know whether the $800 difference will go ahead and create that kind of incentive to stay healthy, get a job, and move on and be independent. The recommendation, is a maximum subsidy of $6,251 and an anticipated subsidy
Needed.
So, Sarah, if you can just re-enlighten us on what is the difference? If we're approving it at $6,251, yet we said that the amount needed is $800 less. What
Creates that difference?
Yeah,
The difference is what the family pays is 30% of their income toward their housing. We pay the rest. Our estimate based on the current jobs they have and what we anticipate their income will be, they will need the $5,000 number. If for some reason they have any income loss, which unfortunately in today's environment is happening far more frequently, even when people are working very hard to keep their jobs, let's face it, the economy and jobs are not very stable, then the subsidy, the maximum subsidy would be the additional $800 to keep them housed for the year.
Okay, can I ask you this?
Mm-hmm.
How's the money dispersed?
We pay connections after, they determine it on a monthly basis, and then we pay
An
them.
invoice.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
So if in fact the amount needed is $5,436, then that's what you pay.
Yep.
And if these people fall short in terms of the anticipated earning, then you sort of asking for the latitude
Yes.
to be able to pay up to $6,251.
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, I understand the argument, Alderman Rainey, but I'm thinking that
We can encumber all of this money so that maybe the last person who comes along won't be.
No, I don't think.
And I don't think it's the $800 that should encourage the family to keep working this year. I think it should be the $5,436 that should encourage them to work. I think this family might be the wrong family, but they're in the program. They've been subsidized for a year. The program is for 2 years. Let's subsidize them for the second year. You can be sure when Connections needs more money from us, they are at that podium or writing a letter immediately. Connections knows how to extract every penny necessary for them to function. So I'm not worried about anybody being shortchanged here. Let's allocate the full $6,251. And for those who are asking about income, the woman does not have a job. So she's hoping to be employed part-time by Macy's at the end of the month, maybe,
So that sounds like she, may need all of the allocation.
I'm sure they're going to need more.
But I think that the issue is similar to what we had asked the township to address with general assistance. You're right. There's got to be a fight for folks to be as self-determining as possible. But this allocation is sort of, a way to bail some folks out, like, the big banks and stuff. So to the extent that, so I think that the spirit is shared, but I would support the $6,251 allocation myself.
But keep in mind, we've been assisting this family for 3 years now. This will be the 4th. So we just want to make sure that everything works out, because if you read the whole memo, you'll find that another family didn't work out. So anyway, let's move on. It's no big deal. It's just money. All those in favor of recommending the $6,251 for this family, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I would like to make a formal request of our staff to give us every single detail of how the affordable housing money can be spent, because I have some really good ideas for programs on how it could be spent, and hopefully it'll fall within the guidelines that they propose. Because we have, there's this old cliche from way back when, people falling through the cracks. If ever people were falling through the cracks, it's now. It's now. Not people who are being supported by Connections, but all those who are not. So I'd like to find out what the rules are. Next item is amending portions of the zoning ordinance relating to religious institutions in business, commercial, and downtown zoning districts. This is for introduction tonight, and it's recommended by the Zoning Committee of the Plan Commission and the Plan Commission.
Move introduction.
Second.
Discussion? None? I just want to mention that in the 700 block of Howard Street, which all of you on the council and committee know is a tax increment financing district of about, it's probably the smallest one we have. It's about 6 or 7 blocks long. In the 700 block of Howard, there are 7 churches in one block. And one of the reasons, just to have a short discussion on the idea of making churches a special use, churches are not open during the week when all the retail and commercial activity is taking place. So if you have a bank of storefront churches or other churches, you just have dead space. I brought with me a photograph of a sign from one of the churches in my ward that says,
Old sign.
yeah, but I'm not going to talk about that part of it. But it says, services on certain nights are from 11:30 to 2 a.m. in the morning. And that's a little unusual. And the churches are mostly, their entire storefronts are covered, so you can't see in, nobody can see out. The signage is horrible, and they don't contribute to business or commercial districts. In my reference to get this special use, I really made a reference, and I know that it's going to be dealt with soon, that in our commercial and business districts, almost a majority of the permitted uses are property tax exempt uses, which raises some serious issues with our whole vision for economic development. So I think the Zoning Committee of the Plan Commission needs to take a very careful look at what we're doing in our business and commercial districts. So anyway, I think they just started at the top of the list and they're working down. Also, this week, the alderman in the 49th Ward had a meeting with his zoning people, and it was determined that all of the churches on the Chicago side of Howard Street are illegal because in commercial districts in the city of Chicago, it isn't that churches are a special use, but they are not allowed. So the concern is, of course, that within a matter of getting the notice, and they're going to notice all those properties, that Evanston will be receiving all sorts of inquiries about more churches. So, yes.
Well, I know that in the, from Simpson, between Green Bay and Brown, we have 6 or 7, unsure, of churches in that area, which is mainly commercial.
Is that a TIF district?
Part of it is, in terms of, the TIF goes up Ashland, I believe, to Simpson and stops there. So part of that would, only one church, I believe, would be in it. The other ones are west of that, which would not be the TIF district.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending introduction to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow animal hospitals as a special use in all business and commercial districts. This is for introduction. Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Alderman
Yes.
Jean-Baptiste.
Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
what I would ask that we consider is to also include the animal sitting services, because there's a trend now of businesses opening up and to do dog sitting and other kinds of animal sitting. And that has a significant impact on the communities in which they are placed. So I would recommend an amendment that we include that.
Do we have, Bill, do we have a definition of animal sitting, dog sitters in our zoning ordinance?
We do not. However, we have had quite a number of inquiries.
Right.
We treat them as retail services at this point, but a focused definition, I think, would be helpful. Certainly something.
So could we get that in this ordinance so that we could introduce, so that we could pass it at our next meeting?
Yes.
Oh, we could, okay, cool. All right.
I think I might have some reservations on that. A full day long dog sitting service, I think, is going to have potentially has a greater impact on, the environment around, the business environment around there. If you've got people, with however many dogs, 30, 40 dogs in a space, maybe they're barking, maybe they're not, walking them on a regular basis, at least going to be downtown. I don't know that we should wrap it into the same kind of category as animal hospital. Animal hospital, I think, is going to be much more limited. People are going to be coming and going, with a pet at a time.
So you think we should get more restrictive?
I think we should do it differently, probably, and think about that carefully rather than wrapping it into the animal hospital type of
I'd be open
parameters.
to consider that and ask that you assist us in trying to create language in the category necessary. So I would
It should be a special definition.
Yeah, special definition.
Right.
So
Would
I
that be the
withdraw
same as the kind of dog spa kind of thing, too?
The dog what?
Dog spa.
A doggy spa, oh, like animal
Right.
grooming.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
different.
That's
know.
the high-end doggy daycare.
Yeah,
I can
that's-
They do the nails and all that stuff.
One of the most important businesses on Howard Street and the longest next to the auto supply is Howard Animal Hospital.
Yeah.
That is embraced by all the residents, so, anyway.
Yeah.
Alderman Nguyen.
Well, I would recommend that we move forward with this and then look separately at the question of doggy daycare, and because I think we need a little bit more information in terms of how those uses operate and the time period they do, and we need to think through a little bit more carefully what the impacts are. Just thinking about it briefly, I think we all can see that that's something that we should study separately from this. But I think this one, if we could send it on to the council, we should do that.
That's why I
Because
withdraw
it's been
mine.
around for a while,
Yeah.
this special use. Yeah.
I withdraw the
Is that all
motion.
right,
That's
Alderman
fine.
Jean
That's fine.
Baptiste? And maybe the zoning committee can
Right.
define it.
Do
And,
that as quickly as
you know,
possible.
all right. Mr. Lyons, did you want to say anything?
That was going to be my recommendation.
Okay, great, all right. All those in favor of recommending introduction of animal hospitals as a special use of business and commercial, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Next item is, we're finished with our business. The next item is an update on 555 Howard. Mr. Dunkley, are you the?
This time, identify yourself, Mr. Dunkley.
I'm sorry, Bill Dunkley, zoning administrator. 6 months ago, we heard from the proprietor of the convenience store and also the Marathon gas station at 555 Howard Street with a request to expand the conditions of the special use regarding that convenience store to allow the convenience store to stay open 24 hours as it actually, in fact, had been doing for the previous several years. That request was denied by the council, and however, the store was allowed to stay open through 7 p.m., 7 days a week, with the provision that after 6 months we would come back to it, the situation and reevaluate. Staff has performed some observations on the location, and we have found that, in fact, the convenience store operation after 7 p.m. has been closed. The area has been open and used by only the clerk, the cash register clerk, to take gas payments through the window. However, have been observed no customers actually in the convenience store. We also received reports from the Evanston Police Department regarding calls for service to the location, or from the location. We compared the previous 6 months from April 1st through October 15th of this year in terms of just total number of calls for service. This is for a wide variety of assistance, with that same data for the previous 44 months prior to that, April 1st, 2006 through March of 2010. And when compared with, based on a number of calls per service per month, there is a fairly dramatic difference both before and after the convenience store was acting in a compliant manner and closing at night. We found that in the earlier period, when open 24 hours a day, there were on average 9.9, almost 10 calls per service per month. In the current 6 months, that number has dropped by more than 50% to 4.2 calls per month. Without going to another level of detail to look at the types of calls, I believe that data is fairly compelling just on its face value.
And it's compelling, of course, and if you talk to the neighbors, they will say, I told you so, that the reason for the illegal activity and the nuisance issues was that this location open 24 hours a day, the convenience store open 24 hours a day, resulted in all sorts of uncivilized and nuisance type and criminal behavior. And with the station is still open 24 hours a day, by the way. You can go and get gas 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people are satisfied. They're not sure that the 6 months has been a long enough period because, the gas station's on their best behavior. And as a matter of fact, on one of our positive presents in front of the station a month or so ago, one of the employees of the station advised us all, and to my face, knowing that I was an alderman, that the station owners and management have asked employees from time to time not to call the police. So while there is definitely a decrease in action because there's no place to go into after 7 o'clock at night, I do think that and he explained some of the issues that they don't call the police for. I think they're also being very, very controlled in why they would call the police. So, but we think we need a little more time. The evidence is really clear. When the convenience store is closed, there's peace in the neighborhood. When the convenience store is open after 7, there is not. So I think we've proved our point, and like I told them the other day, the law is the law, and we've extended the law on your behalf. So,
yeah.
Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
Yes, I wanted to just get some clarification. You said that, the statistics are compelling to say what? I mean, that they dropped 50%?
Yes, that there was a distinct and a specific correlation between the time the convenience store was open and the number of calls for service.
Okay.
Even though the whole gas station was open 24 hours. It was that convenience store part.
The convenience store is the problem, yeah.
Right. And Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
You indicated that it did show, that the closing of the convenience store has impacted the community positively.
Positively.
And if I recall, there was some compromise because initially the request was that we close it at 4 o'clock or 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
and Sundays it was completely closed, yes. No, we opened it up. We expanded the rule of the council by, many, many hours. It's 7 to 7, 7 days a week.
Good. And the business continues to operate. It
24
didn't
hours,
fall off the
24
cliff.
hours. The lines are, I mean, there are, you go by there at midnight, there's lots of cars in there.
Okay, well, that's good.
But this is just, I don't know what the point, this was just for information,
Yeah.
Mr. Dunkley? Yeah.
Six-month evaluation, which is good. And my suggestion would just wait to see if, the owners want to cross the bridge, then it would be only at that time that we'll consider modification.
Why?
I'm saying
Things
we
are
would
going
only-
great.
No, I'm
I'm
saying
not
that
interested in giving them an opportunity to go back to their old ways.
we're not suggesting that. I'm
Oh.
saying that there's no reason to do anything other than to accept the report.
I just wish you were the alderman in the 8th Ward for a couple of months, so you would know what a relief this is, Alderman Jean-Baptiste.
Alderman Rainey, I think, you wrestle a
This
significant
location
bear over there.
was a plague on our house, okay?
Yes, and
And now it is not. And so,
I
let-
don't.
thank you
think-
for everything you did. Let's not change it.
Status quo, yeah, I don't think, I move that we accept the report.
All right, meeting adjourned?
Yes.
Okay, what time does our next meeting start? 15 minutes.
8:05?
8:05. We'll be back here at 8:05.